Hey guys, welcome to Takes from Obvious Bozos, episode 3. I'm Drew, director of digital content for the Strickland, SNY, Yes, MSG Plus. Zach is with me. Zach, how's
Hello.
it going?
It's great. Looking forward to a Knicks game in 2 hours from now.
Two
The big
hours,
one.
yes. So guys, we're gonna like boom, boom, boom these takes and we got a lot of them, and there are some good ones. But
This is
before we
a
get
record high of
a
takes
record high. So,
submitted.
guys, thank you for the
Yeah.
takes. Keep them coming because we're gonna do as much as we can, and we're gonna crank out all of them in a good amount of time. But we got to respect because you've probably went to it already while you're listening to this. Strickland's having a watch party. It happened, so like I hope it went well. That's all I have to say. So we got to get that to mind. But before we get into we got everything, let's get into some our sponsors because we've got to make the sponsors happy because that's where we make that money. So Bet Online is our first sponsor because our second sponsor is going to be an even more interesting one. So the last of the major pro sports leagues kicks off this week, and Bet Online is your top spot for all your NBA action this season. With the NFL, college football, and NHL in full swing, BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. Get everything NBA at the fingertips with both desktop and mobile access for every sport. Anime? That's not.
That typo. I don't know why that's there.
Uh-oh. But access to every sport. Anime. Online
I think it
today.
meant and more, but
And more, but no, sports, anime.
I don't know.
Head to Bet Online today to get in on the action. That's definitely another. This is great. Don't forget to use promo code BLEAV, which is BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. Again, that's BLEAV, BLEAV. And then our second sponsor is, of course, the Strickland. Guys, the Strickland has an Instagram account. You got to check it out. That's where all the art is. It's the place to go because Twitter is what's going on over there. That's bizarre. But no, head over to Instagram. You can follow us at thestrict.land. We also have a YouTube channel where you may actually just be watching this podcast. You're just slapping on in the background. You want to see our beautiful mugs as you do some chores whenever you're listening to this. But that's where we're going to be. And make sure you subscribe, obviously, to our YouTube. We got plenty of content coming because we have all of our other podcasts from Pod Strickland to Strictly NFL. That stuff goes on there. Our post games, that's going on there as well. So don't miss out on the actions. So definitely subscribe. Then we also have a Patreon, and the Patreon has tons of new content. For $6 a month, you get access to a full version of this pod, which means you get the full entirety of this and not just that little sliver in the beginning. So definitely subscribe so you get the entirety of this. You also get access to our amazing Discord server where you can submit takes for this show, along with Friday's episode of Pod Strickland, feature articles from Matthew Miranda, the professor, and invites to private events throughout the season and discounted merchandise. So again, if you subscribe, you'd be at that watch party. You would have been at that watch party on Friday when the Knicks, we're going to say, beat the Bucks handily by 25.
Jesus. Danger.
I
Famous
know that's
last
not.
words.
I know that's not going to age well. For $9 a month, you get access to our brand new NFL show, Strictly NFL, hosted by Jeff and Con. You also get even more perks if you subscribe to one of our elevated tiers. So, guys, go to patreon.com/or / whatever slash you do for the URL, the Strickland, go right to it, or you can go to the strict.land and click on our Patreon tab. So, Zach, are you ready for the collection of Julius Randle takes? We're going to have to.
Okay. So before we even get into this, I meant to tell you this before we hit record, but I'll tell you it now. We got a lot of Randall takes, as
A
one would
lot.
expect.
A lot.
As one would expect, we got a lot Randall takes. And instead of just doing the same Randall bit every 15 minutes when we get through like 3 or 4 takes that are not
Mhm.
Randall related. I reorganized them and I put all the Randall takes in the beginning. But there's actually one beautiful Knicks take that I put first, and then we'll get into like I think it's 7, 8 Randall takes.
Yes.
So
So be ready for
that's
this.
the run of show. It's the one
Yeah,
quick
so
run,
like for
8
you
Randall
three
takes.
guys, you're gonna
Yeah.
get our basketball analysis and on these takes. So like that's great, but you're gonna miss out on like anything other. So if you're like, crap, I really don't want to listen to Julius Randle talk, subscribe to the Patreon because we'd be far and away from it. But our first take is from Franklin Chubb. The season is off to a great start. I feel great. Franklin, there's no way you feel great. That's not even a take. I feel like it's a lie.
No, that's definitely a take, and it's pretty warm, pretty hot because I would imagine that most listeners are not feeling very great after the first 5 games. You could
Yeah,
feel
no.
okay. You could feel pretty good. You could feel like complacent, like high ceiling, but you can't feel great. So this is pretty warm, pretty hot take. What do you think?
I've been only good vibes for these past 5 games. That's what I've been on the Discord. So I'm always finding the positive spin for every single game. So to me, the season is going great. Now, if you say actually watch the games and look at the stats and rewatch the film like Tibbs does 3 times, that will tell you that my assessment of things are great is not true. But it doesn't matter because I'm not looking at those. I'm looking at Mitch being elite. I'm looking at quickly starting off really hot. I'm looking at RJ, who was desperately needed in that Cavs
Somehow,
game, like desperately needed. And he's playing well. Brunson's getting his shots; they're not going in. So, like, there are some good things, but no, it's the play of Julius Randle's concerning, right? Like, it's concerning, and Hart doesn't look ready. White Dante's blowing layups. He's been very good though, White Dante, but he's blowing layups. I don't like it. Brunson isn't making shots. That is troubling. So like there are some things like Grimes is lost in the offense, whether you think he has the high ceiling or the low ceiling or whatever it is, but like he's not really involved right now. Hartenstein's been good, and like that's it, right? And
yeah.
like they just haven't played well, and Julius Randle has been really bad. Like he's just been bad. Like I don't really know how else to describe it, right? Like it's just not good basketball. It's not even like not good for him, or it's just like generically not good basketball. He's done some fine things. He is passing a little more, which is great. But
I
he's
wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say that. Like there was that one game and we won and we
yeah,
passed. But since then, it's just been. I mean, I don't want to like regurgitate everything. I was on Pod Strickland instead of Schwinn this week because he had some reservations. But I don't want to say the same thing
hmm
again. But
hmm
Prez and I were basically talking about how you can have a bad game and do other stuff and be okay, and the team will
yes,
survive or just
yes.
do what they usually do. But you can also have a bad game and tank the entire lineup you're in and become up a complete negative, and that's what he's been doing. And you could say he's done like this and that on the other side, but it's all been negative from him recently. It's hard to watch, and it's hard not
So
to think it's going to
yeah, no. So
snowball.
we're gonna cut right there because we
Yeah,
have some piping hot Julius Randle takes. So I hope you guys are ready
it's a
for
good
this.
idea.
So G Bake says Leon will fire Tibbs before trading Randle because it's way easier to replace a coach than an All NBA forward. So see, we're starting off strong.
Yeah,
Kyle,
there's a hot one, hot one.
we're getting there, right? We're getting that's a good one. We like that so far. Kyle has Randall will continue being one of the worst players in the league up to our 25 game threshold, and it will cause a big roster shakeup. Ooh, man, guys,
Let's do these two together because these are both about like potential shakeups
listen. Let's
post
do them
Randall.
together because this is like I said, we're starting off hot with
Just these two, though, and then we'll move on to the rest
yeah, we'll
because
keep
I don't
going. But
want
I'm
to knock
saying
them all out. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, guys, that's what I'm saying. We have some good quality Randall takes here. These are good. I feel like G Baked has like it's a hot take, and I think like there is some good ground for it. And I think that's just something I don't think the fans actually want to hear,
Yeah.
right? Because like I think that's probably the logic that's going to be behind it, right? Because it's like, how do you move a 2-time All NBA player? Like we've obviously all watched them. We know the roller coaster that is Julius Randle. We know the highs are All NBA worthy, but the lows are really bad, and it really does hurt this team. But like on the surface, right? If you're a casual fan and you're on the surface, you're like, well, Julius Randle's doing 20 and 10. He's all NBA. He's been great. What do you mean he's the issue? Right? So it's just like there is this weird disconnect at a very macro level if you're not watching day to day. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were just like, well, it's the coach. Because that's usually what they do. They do coach, then star player.
All right. I'm going to push back on this for a weird reason.
Push it back. Push it back. Let's go.
This is another thing we were talking about with Prez, so I don't spend too much time on it. But
no, it's okay. I don't know what you guys said.
There was a take submitted in here, and I think we'll get to it. But it was submitted by Schwinn, and he was like, Randle caught wind of the front office's plans, and he's not in them, and he's kind of just mailing it in right now. And that's also, if you want to go like big conspiracy theory tinfoil hat, like he switched his agent from CAA. You know, I don't want to look too deep into that, but it is something. You know, I can't just completely ignore it. And if you connect the dots, it does make some sense. It's a plausible theory. I don't know. Like we don't have enough to say this is the concrete answer. But if there is a disconnect between Randle and the front office and they're not as married as they once were, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one to go before Tibbs. And we were here for the last episode talking about a Tibbs extension. Like it's only been 5 games. Like so, I think
that is fair.
It could go both ways.
It can go both ways. So that is fair because this front office, they extended Randle, but they didn't actually like sign him.
Yeah, he wasn't one of their original guys.
Right. It's kind of similar. It's similar to Barrett too, right? It's like it's not one of their guys. Mitch has become one of their guys.
Yeah.
But like he's not. But like the other two in RJ and Randle aren't. I mean, like I said, that's also very. There is a plausibility in that like Randle will go because Tibbs is the guy, and honestly, like even when if you're going in like that route too. Tibbs to start the season hasn't been like super Tibbsy, I think to say. I mean, I know people are going to want Quickly to play more, which is totally fair. But like at the same time, like I do understand some of his decisions to a degree. I don't think he's been awful to start the year, Tibbs. So I wouldn't be surprised if like that carries over the front office. Like, well, Tibbs has been pretty hot.
It's really hard to like do this after 5 games because like the sample size isn't big enough for either of them, and like you have to have like something to look at to evaluate who was worse, and we don't really have that yet. And right now, if you do want to go up 5 games, it's Randle, but I think this take is kind of coming from an area where they're expecting the playing field to even between those two. So
yeah, so we are like that 25 game threshold. I think that's a good point, though, right? Like Kyle said, like when we get to that threshold, that's when we could be like, all right, these are the current concerns of the team. Then we can start evaluating. And yeah, that's when this December 15th deadline for free agents who signed in the offseason are allowed to be traded. 25 games, it's around that threshold. I mean, it's a possibility. So Omar has, I'd move Randle before Tibbs. Gax-AJAB has Randle's trade value is much lower than we think, and we'd be lucky to get a protected first in a trade where he's not sweetening the pot.
We're not sweetening the pot. Yeah.
So, and then we're going to stop for a moment right after Mikey's because it just made me laugh. Is Julius Randle is the Knicks version of Jeremy Shockey, which is yes, he is. Like that's a good.
I have an unfortunate admission, a fault, perhaps.
What's that?
I don't know who Jeremy Shockey is.
I mean, that's totally fair. He was before your time, right? He was.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. He could have been a modern day person that I didn't know. So I was worried about that. All right, good.
So this is when I was watching football. So Jeremy Shockey was a tight end originally out of the University of Miami. He was like this big, like basically this big, strong dude who was just like barreling over people. And at his height, like when Jeremy Shockey was really good, he was like very, very difficult to match up with. He's not Gronk because Gronk is like the best, I think. I don't really know tight ends. I don't know football. So NFL people, like if you're listening to this, you're like, these takes are terrible. Yes, obviously. I don't.
There's actually a big NFL take coming. We'll get to it.
But like Jeremy Shockey, like was like his highs were highs, but his lows were really low, right? And it like and he was like a big name, right? Like in football for the Giants. Like he was like in the area. So I like that. But let's get to so Omar is in the in the G-Bait section, right? Randle's gone before Tibbs. And then Gax is trade value is much lower.
So these are two separate
These are two separate.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, before we get into the second one, then I am probably in the Omar G-Bait camp that I would, if I was like the man upstairs for this team, I would move Randle before Tibbs too. So, are you not in that boat? Are you in that boat?
I want to be in that boat, but there's just something like deep in my gut that's like, I think they would do the coach then the player move. I don't know why. There's nothing really to actually point to it. Like, I don't have any sort of like.
If you were in charge though, what would you do?
Oh, I would trade Randle. I would have like I
feel like that's going to be the majority take around.
I think it is, and it would have been smart to trade him in the offseason. It would have been very unpopular, right? Like in terms of like, right, Randle rebounded back right after the playoffs. He got hurt. You're really gonna like not bet on him type of thing. Yeah. And my answer would have been like, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not doing it. Again, like we'll see how Obi does. Like he may not pan out. It doesn't really matter at this point. But like I would have given him a shot. Like why not? Just in terms of he's like a connector, and I think this team needs more of those type of guys than like because you have Brunson who's just been on the ball and like looking for his own shot and nothing else, right? So like he's already starting the season a little shaky, but like Brunson's more of like me first. RJ is me first. Right. Mitch doesn't do anything. I don't mean this in a bad way, but like Mitch doesn't really do anything other than what Mitch is really good at. So like
he does his Mitch stuff. Yeah.
He does his Mitch stuff. He's not like on the ball. And Grimes is like, yeah, okay, well, Grimes is in the corner. Right. So it's just like
for now,
for now. So it's like I want the Knicks to have someone who moves the ball. So that's not to say Obi was like this amazing ball mover, but I thought he was a better ball mover and kind of like connective passer than Randle ever was. Randle's very much a create a shot passer.
I agree.
If that makes sense. So, but you could have gone a different route too. It didn't have to just be like Obi at the 4, right? It could have been a Randle in a trade somewhere, and you bring in a starting 4 or a backup 4 to like split minutes with Obi. Like I don't have that thing, but I would have traded Randle in the offseason when I think his value is the highest because I'm kind of with Gax, right? Like I don't think Randle's value is high.
I
really don't.
Lower than what we may think is kind of a hard way to put it because I think
yes, that is
because if you ask around, like the we is not going to be consensus on what Randle's trade value is. Like it's a really, really hard thing to gauge. And I don't know, were you looking in general today? Like, somebody was sending like a Grizzlies 3-team trade, and it was Santi. It was I don't know.
That was Omar. Shout out to Omar for his Grizzlies Bulls.
Yeah, can we read it? I gotta find it. I gotta remember what it was because this was like a blink twice reaction for me. I was like, wait a minute. What?
It was the six. No, I think wasn't it the Sixers Bulls Knicks? Where Levine went to the Sixers, Tobias went to the Knicks.
Nope, it's right here. It's the Bulls, the Knicks, and the Grizzlies. And the Knicks would receive Levine from the Bulls, and then Zaire Williams and Santi Aldama from the Grizzlies. And then the Bulls would get Fournier, Kennard, and Grimes. So we're basically giving away, and then the Grizzlies end up getting Randle, and that's it. So the trade for us is Randle, Grimes, and Fournier for Levine, Zaire Williams, and Aldama. So it's hard to like even gauge. I actually like kind of understand this deal. It's not something I would do.
That's not bad though.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal.
If that deal actually happened, you would kind of like talk yourself kind of into it, right? You could be like, all right,
I could talk myself into this 1,000%, but I'm not the one who's picking up the phone and being like, all right, guys, bring me Santi Aldama. Like I'm not.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that trade as a fan. If Woj tweeted that out right now, I'd be like, I really don't like Zach LaVine, but I also really don't like Randle, but so I'll take the shot of LaVine. That's basically all it is.
Also, are we starting Aldama at the 4? Is that what this trade is? Because we're moving Randle, who's our only.
No,
4.
I think it would be. I think they're going to start Josh Hart. So it would be Brunson, LaVine, RJ, Hart, and Mitch. which
All right.
it's
I don't want to stray too far away. We had to take about Randall's true value itself. This is a total. We're way too deep in this
I
hypothetical.
know, but
Yeah.
yeah. So like they get a protected first. I mean, I could see that. Like, I don't know. I don't think the Knicks would get. I would say maybe the less thing is, I don't know if it'd be protected. I think we could probably get an unprotected pick for Julius Randle. Right? I would be kind of shocked if it wasn't. Like,
It's
if
like
it was
also you have to like think about what team he's going to, and it's hard to like
right,
evaluate like what
right.
because if certain teams don't have draft capital to offer you, so it's going to be like a more of a player heavy package, and then there are teams that are just sitting
Mhm.
on a mountain of capital, and it's going to be just like some salary and a bunch of picks. So there's different ways to do it, and it's not an exact science at all.
Right. Like, what if it's just like if you do say with Detroit, I don't know if the salaries specifically match, but if it's like Bagley, Bogdanovich, and like 2 protected first or something like that, where it's like, all right, well, you have a veteran who can play in Bogdanovich. I don't really know much about Bagley, his
That would make
game.
me sick. That he's disgusting. That would make me absolutely sick.
I mean,
That
I
trade.
think it would make a lot of Knicks fans sick, but like
Dude.
maybe that'd be something where you're just like Bagley has potential. I don't know. I can't really. That doesn't sound like anything.
It's
we can do.
2023, and we're doing Bagley as potential ship. No,
Oh
yeah,
no, I'm just saying. Like, what would
yeah.
the argument be? Like, I guess that's the argument. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. He's been in the league for a while, but like, I don't know.
I don't even want to give any thought to Bagley potential talk in 2023. I'm done.
Marvin Bagley, future New York Knicks starting
Dude,
power
there
forward.
was a long period of time where like I was in like high school or maybe late middle school doing Marvin Bagley Knicks jersey swaps
That's
when he was
great.
at Duke. I
I
was like,
love
this
it.
is our guy. He's coming. Look at this lottery. We're getting him.
That's amazing.
Right.
I mean, people
That's
were
it.
doing that with what's his name, Okafor too. So
Oh, I was right there. I was in the field doing the Okafor. Lose more for Okafor. That was the thing back in the day.
Spare one has Randall will pick up his game just in time for the deadline, and Tibbs will fight the front office tooth and nail to keep him. Jesus Christ. Bouley's hater has Julius Randle in his present state is more of a negative than Elfrid Payton was. I mean, Bouley's that is scorching hot.
Yeah.
I mean the numbers may actually in terms of impact numbers may actually agree with you, but like that is scorching hot. I don't know. That's a good one. Because Elfrid was very much like, I mean, Elfrid Payton's not is Elfrid Payton even the NBA anymore?
Yes, I think he got like a weird flyer with a team. Let me
Okay,
check.
but you get what I'm saying though, right? Like we don't know if he's in the NBA.
Oh no, he's not. He's not.
Julius Randle's definitely going to still be in the NBA. Like he's still going to be a productive player.
Yeah.
He might be a negative like Elfrid right now, but no, not like Elfrid. But spare one though, that's hot, and I don't want it to happen. Like reading that, it's like
I have a deep cut lore pre Strickland. I had an agenda after the like in the middle of the pandemic. This is before the pandemic season had started.
All right, we got pandemic, pre-pandemic stuff.
There was a long time debate over who was worse, Payton or Randall. Like that was a thing before the pandemic season happened. And I was the guy on the front lines of the Randall was worse than Elfrid Payton thing at that time. And then I looked like a total loser after Randall had that 2020-21 season and Payton was still like a nightmare. So I ate my words, but Payton was a different kind of bad in that season. He was way worse than he was in his first season, which was 1920. So if you're thinking about like that version of Payton versus this version of Randall, I don't even think it's close. I don't think it's close.
Yeah, Payton was bad.
It was really bad.
I can see spare one though. That reality coming true.
Oh,
and
it would a little bit more. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, that would like I could see that happening, and that would actually be, I think, like a not smart decision for the Knicks.
Yeah, I don't think Tibbs would fight tooth and nail to keep Randall because this is a weird thing President I talked about too. But do you remember last year where there was like a rumor that Tibbs wanted to trade Randall for Tobias Harris like early in the season? I think it was like last December that came out. And then it was the front office who shut that down. It was like the other way around of what Sperwin is saying. But I'm sure things have absolutely changed since then. And like the sample size we've seen from Randall here is not what it was last year. And there would be a basis for the argument. So I don't know if like the front office would fight tooth and nail to keep him, or if like, well, first part of this take is even crazier. Randall will pick up his game ahead of the deadline. That's a big if. That's the bet. That's a big one in itself. So
yeah, that's I mean, it's really bad right now, so I think by default it's going to get better. I don't know how better though.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty bad right now. So you know what, guys? Guess what we're gonna do? This is where the free show ends. I know, but guess
Wow.
what? But guess what, guys? Like, you gotta subscribe for the full show. You gotta get on Patreon and subscribe to listen to everything. $6 tier. Get in, submit your takes. You'll get to hear everything and more. And also, like, you may get the soundboard only on the paid version. So, like, if you actually want like the stuff that we're doing that makes the show this show, get on Patreon, sign up so you can listen to the full thing. Now we're switching over.